let's recap where we've been in the Big God story for the last little while. A few weeks ago, we met Joseph. A pretty happy guy with a pretty cool coat, and some very jealous brothers. His brothers threw him in a well. His brothers sold him to be a slave. The slavers took him to Egypt, where he ended up in jail. Next, he was standing in front of Pharaoh, the leader of the country, talking to him about his dreams.
Well, I saw these really cool cows.
Interesting. And at the end of it all, after being thrown down a well, sold, and in jail, and talking with the king, Joseph was the number 2 in the entire country, helping their way through 7 years of drought. Things happened exactly as God said they would. For 7 years, Egypt had tons of food, and Joseph oversaw the collection of it for the years when they would not have as much. And sure enough, 7 years followed when Egypt and the lands all around it were dry, and the food ran out. But thankfully, because of Joseph's management and his leadership, Egypt had enough. In fact, they had enough to share with others. But back in Canaan, where Joseph's family was, things were not so good. The family was running out of food, and the brothers were running out of ideas. There was nothing left for them there. And then their father came and reminded them that yes, there was no food here, but there was food in Egypt. "Go and get some," he said, "so that our family might not starve." The brothers agreed, and they all headed off to Egypt in search of food. So the brothers went to Egypt and asked for food, so that their families might not starve. And all the while, they didn't realize that the person they were talking to was their brother. It had been so long since they'd seen him that they didn't recognize him. But Joseph knew them. Joseph revealed who he was to his brothers. Needless to say, they were a little surprised and worried. Their brother was second in charge of all of Egypt, and here they were, the guys who had thrown him down a well and sold him as a slave. But Joseph held no anger in his heart for his brothers. He was so happy to see them. It was a joyful reunion. The Pharaoh granted Joseph's family permission to come and live in Egypt, away from the drought. They brought their flocks, they brought their wives, they brought their children, and of course they brought their father. And Joseph was reunited with him again. It was another joyful reunion. God had protected. God was always in control, and God's plan was perfect. And his plan to heal what was broken and bring his people back to him was still going strong.